being ashamed of your sexuality doesn't help anybody. It doesn't help you. It doesn't help the women who are attracted to you, would be attracted to you if you weren't ashamed of your sexuality. And it doesn't help to just give up to the competition who also want to shame you, namely other men, right? There are a lot of parties that are interested in shaming your sexuality, but at the end of the day, you are the only person who can be blamed. I'm not interested in some diatribe about Western society and this and that and blah, blah, blah. Go fuck yourself. Like, if you allow yourself to be castrated and to be ashamed of your sexuality, that's on you. But I'm here to teach you how not to do that because you're the only person who can change it. You're never going to get rid of others who are interested in keeping you down in whatever way, right? But since this is a dating channel, we're mostly focused on your success in finding a girlfriend or a wife that you are happy with. And in order to be better at finding someone, you need to embrace your sexuality and accept it. You have to discipline it at times and be restrained, but you have to embrace it. And unfortunately, I'm going to show you an example of a client of mine who is demonstrating the opposite of what I want you to do. And the way that he fails, but, that's why we're working together, is this situation right here. So the short version of what happens just before you see this screenshot, if you were to scroll up on his text exchange, you would see that he sent her a picture of his bulge, so his hard dick under some boxers. So not even a full dick pic. And she responded, "Why are you sending me a dick pic?" Now, you might be like, "Oh, yeah, you shouldn't just be sending dick pics to a girl," right? And you would be correct. Except for the fact that this girl has sent multiple nudes to him unsolicited, okay? Straight up showing everything, all right? She has just sent them to him, okay? And they've been talking for weeks. And they have had sex talks. She's talked about what she likes in bed. Okay, so very, they're on that level. He responded with a picture of his bulge. And then all of a sudden, she said, "Why are you sending me dick pics?" With the confused with sweat going down your face emoji, right? And then his response perfectly exemplified what not to do. It shows that he's ashamed and that he was shamed by her surprise, her stupid surprise. I don't know if it's purposeful stupidity to be manipulative or it's just straight just being stupid, but it's stupid. Because if you can send just nudes unsolicited, but then if he sends a bulge, which isn't even that close, in response, and then you're like, "Why are you sending me nudes?" And then responds, "Oh, okay, well, just let that be the only one, please." She's allowed to say what she does and does not want. Okay, let's get that very clear. And that's fine. If she doesn't want you to send more stuff, then you don't, right? But it's very difficult for you to be justified when you're talking to someone if you have send unsolicited nudes, right? It makes you a hypocrite, it makes you stupid, and it makes me think that something weird is going on. Now, there's a lot of context with this girl. She has a lot of red flags, okay? But we're not going to focus on that. This is just a video on not being ashamed of your sexuality and how he should have handled this, okay? So I think he was perfectly justified in sending that photo, especially directly in response to a nude, right? But if you see the way that he's saying this, we're just going to go over why the way he's saying this is wrong, how you can learn to be more, how to express your sexuality. And when you start expressing your sexuality and being unashamed of it, or at least forcing yourself to, you'll eventually see that women actually like it. Or at the very least, that you'll feel good in defending your right to express your sexuality, up until a certain limit, of course, right? Because like I said, she's fully within her rights to say, "Hey, I don't like that." But given the context, it doesn't make any fucking sense, right? And you still should never be ashamed of your sexuality. Now, Does that mean you're allowed to just send girls new dick pics whenever? No, I'm not. Like, you'd have to be special sort of retarded to like listen to what I'm saying and take that as the conclusion. But I'm sure there will be somebody, and I will enjoy reading their retardation in the comments. But just look at the way he responded. Oh, it's a bulge to show I appreciate you in that way. And that was directly responding to a text. I should have showed it, actually, but it just like says, why are you sending me a dick pic, right? Oh, it's a bulge to show you I appreciate you in that way. That's a lame response, right? Just the way it reads, it's just fucking nerdy. It's not a hard dick. Like, if you're going to send a picture of, it's not even a full dick pic, right? It's his dick under his pants. You can't send that, which is like an expression of like desire and masculinity and strength, right? It's a hard dick. But then the way you write this is like a limp dick. Oh, it's a bulge to show I appreciate you in that way. No. If she were to say, why are you sending me a dick pic? I would say, because you made my dick hard with your picture. Just a straight fucking fact. Hard dick. Right? Because at this moment, she hasn't yet said like, hey, don't do that. Right? It's still a little bit like, I would be like, huh? Right? And I've had a girl do this to me once, and I failed. And so I've learned this lesson. I've had a girl send me very, very risque photos, and then I responded with a bulge, not even a full dick pic. And she kind of pulled the same thing, and I ended up apologizing. And then she lost all attraction, right? But other times, I've been talking to girls, and they've done the same thing, and I sent a dick pic, and they kind of like were like, that's, and I just fucking stuck with it. I was like, yeah, because you make my dick hard. And all of a sudden, they're super attracted to me, right? So I wouldn't say this is like some purposeful conscious test. Like, I'm going to do this, see how he responds. And then if he is a pussy, I'm not going to be attracted to him anymore. A lot of tests by women aren't so like conscious. Like, they're not writing schematics on like how they're going to test you. It just happens spontaneously in the moment. And I don't think, I mean, some of them might be aware of what they're doing. I won't, alleviate all women of that level of consciousness. But I think it just happens kind of spontaneously. And this girl has some issues. Her ex-boyfriend was kind of a prick. But again, if she's acting this way, it kind of tells you there's no... Whenever you hear a sob story from a woman, be very, very, very skeptical. Very rarely are things one-sided. Okay? But she kind of has the usual hang-up of, her ex-boyfriend cheated on her a bunch, took a bunch of money from her, blah, 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 blah. And her big hang-up is like, I don't want you to just want me for my pussy. But then she's just like sending a bunch of nudes and shit, right? So there's a lot of deeper issues going on here, but we're going to try and stick to like just the idea of, being ashamed of your sexuality, okay? So his response was wrong. He should have just been like, it's my hard dick. Like, just, right? And then she goes, okay. Then he doubled down on the pussies. Like, pussyish? Pussy-ishness? Is that the word I'm fucking looking for? Yeah, making up words. I hope it doesn't make you uncomfortable. Okay. There's nothing wrong with checking in with people. Okay? I'm trying to make that very, very clear. There's nothing wrong with checking in with people. There's nothing wrong with making sure someone's comfortable with something. But right now, given the context, given the fact that she has just literally sent him a naked picture of herself, okay, it doesn't make any sense to act like this. When she just says, okay, with this emoji, at that point, I would just not respond. Because I would just like be holding my frame. Your frame being, what I believe to be right in this case. Like, yeah, I sent you, like, I thought we're sexting here. It would be like, let's put on the level of like, if a girl sent you a message saying, I want to suck your dick. And then you responded, yeah, I want to fuck you really hard. And she goes, why are you saying you want to fuck me really hard, right? It would just be like, wait, what? What's going on? It just doesn't make any fucking sense, right? So I wouldn't, by saying I hope it doesn't make you uncomfortable, you're somewhat apologizing when you don't need to be apologizing. If you had randomly sent this, then okay, that might be understandable, right? But it's just very weak-willed because, again, you're not unjustified in what you're doing. Then it's sort of, we got to be very careful with this, because I don't want guys just like randomly sending girls dick pics, right? This is just an example of being ashamed of your sexuality, right? Well, let's just let that be the only one, please, which is totally fine. Like I said, she's totally allowed to do this, but that's fucking gay, okay? That's fucking lame. When she says this, you just say, cool, thumbs up, and then leave it alone. But in this case, given this context, you have to stand up for yourself. You can allow someone their boundary, that's fine, but still argue that it's fucking retarded. And in this case, I would say something like, that's cool, like if that's what you want, but here's the thing. You have sent me multiple nudes unsolicited, and the fact that I sent you something that's not even me naked, it's one level like below that, and you're acting like this, it makes me feel very strange. It makes me feel uncomfortable. Now you take the moral high ground from her, right? I would just make that statement and let it sit and see how she responds. Her response is going to be dumb, right? Because she's in the wrong here. And then if you have to follow up, right, the knockout blow in the argument is going to be, so you're allowed to express yourself sexually, but I'm not. And she'll have some fucking stupid reason for it, right? Like, oh, you know, my ex-boyfriend only wanted me for my pussy, blah, 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 blah. And you can say, look, the fact that I desire you doesn't mean that's the only thing I want from you. And you're the one who started this, right? You were the one who was bringing up that I could fuck you, because he was talking about going and doing something. And she's like, oh, if you win, you know, you can have a prize. And he's like, oh, what will that prize be? And she's like, my pussy. But she's too immature to say the word pussy. She would say my kitty, right? And she's actually gotten on my client for like using the word pussy, and was like, why are you using the P word? It's like, what the fuck? Like, you know, chick has some red flags, okay? But you can stand up for yourself while still also, hey, if that's your boundary, you don't want to see dick pics, cool. Won't send any anymore. But then what I would say to her, I would say, cool, if that's how you feel, but I would appreciate if you don't send me nudes. Because you need to hold her to the same standard she's holding you. And stick to your pride. Allow your pride to guide you here. Like, it's just fucking dumb, right? And I feel almost like this doesn't even need a video. Like, it should be so fucking simple that it should be self-evident. But the thing is, a lot of things that are self-evident and simple to me, or maybe even to you, are not to other people, because this guy is experienced. He's been with a lot of girls, and yet he's still in this situation. And the reason why he's in this situation, I'll just be straight up with you, is because this girl's really hot. She's hotter than most girls he's been with. And the problem when you start going after girls who are like hotter, more beautiful, is you start to make sacrifices that you normally wouldn't. Right? A girl who's not that attractive, you're like, yeah, whatever, you know, this is blah, 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 blah. She's dumb or whatever. I don't care, you know, and just move on. But when she's really hot, you want her a lot. And so you'll start making sacrifices. You'll start being apologetic. You'll start simping, right? Typical bullshit. And that's what he's doing here, right? And even his response was very weak. So far, you've been the only one to share, so I thought it was reciprocal. And then he gave the like nervous emoji. So the way that this like exchange is happening over text is he's like, oh, you know, I thought you'd appreciate it. I hope it doesn't make you uncomfortable. You know, so far you've been the only one. Ooh. Like, just the way he said, and look at her, how she's responding. Like, she's telling him, like, that's the only one, right, with a fucking attitude. And then, oh, I see. And then he just skipped over it. Glad we cleared that up. Do you have any New Year's plans? Shit's fucking lame, right? Her pussy dried up, right? The way this should have gone is bulge pic. Should have been a straight up dick pic, to be honest. Why are you sending me dick pics? Because you just sent me a nude and my dick's hard. And then she'll go, oh, okay. And you don't respond. Then she says, that might be enough to actually like make her wet, because then she'll be like, oh, I'm dealing with a man here, not some fucking pussy boy, right? So she might, girls will play like something's moral. But then, you know, if you win the like, this is a dominance frame, okay? Not every part of a seduction is combative. This is one of those situations where it actually is combative. Like, she kind of wants you to like stand on your own 2 feet and earn your respect. A lot of the rest of the seduction is cooperative, but in this case, it is a bit combative. And then if she says, "Oh, let that be the only one," say, "Cool, respect that." But sometimes when you can acknowledge people's boundaries without being a simp about it, you can just go, "Okay, that's sufficient," right? You don't have to give some diatribe of like, "Oh, okay, well, I'm different. You respect your boundaries." Like, just, yeah, okay, cool. But here's the thing. You sent me all these fucking, like, this isn't the first nude you've sent me. And this isn't the first time we've talked about sex. But then you get uncomfortable when I send you one. So, like, when we have sex, are you going to want to have sex with the lights turned off because you're ashamed of my body? Like, stand up for yourself. Don't be afraid to use moral superiority, right? Because this is really silly, okay? Anywhere, and at some point, and if she were to be like, "Well, I just don't really appreciate it," be like, "Cool, then we won't, do that anymore." And I would stop talking to her. That would be a fucking line cross for me, because she's shaming me, right? I think it's just dumb. I mean, she might be like whatever about her past and sexuality and da. Well, she's entitled to that, but I'm also entitled to reject you because you're fucking weird, right? And you need to have this kind of attitude about it, because this isn't the only time in life where women are going to shame you or they're going to make you feel ashamed. She wasn't like saying directly, "Oh, you're a misogynist little pussy boy and you need to like put your dick in your pants," right? She wasn't like being hardcore about it like that. But that ended up being his response, right? He was being a little dick boy when really he needs to be a man who's like, "I'm allowed to be attracted to you. And you've opened up that door of like sharing explicit photos. So I'm pretty much allowed to do it. I'm allowed to try it. If you're not comfortable with it after, then yes, I'll stop and I won't make you uncomfortable. But you're being retarded here, okay?" And that should be your attitude. And this is going to extend to so many other times in your life, right? Approaching girls. You're allowed to go approach a girl, okay? If she doesn't want to talk to you, if she has a boyfriend or, just ignores you, okay, cool, you move on, right? But you are allowed to do that approach. You're allowed to say, "Hey, excuse me. Hi, saw you over here. I think you're really cute. Want to come say hi." Ignores you, looks at you weird, tells you have a boyfriend, thinks you're a creep, whatever. That's going to happen sometimes. Most of the time, though, the girl's just going to go, "Oh, I appreciate it, but I got to go." Okay, cool. Most of the time, your interactions are not going to be traumatic, right? They're like 1 in 1,000, okay? But there are going to be times when people are going to make you feel bad for other men. You're going to be talking to girls and they're going to make comments your way. They're going to gossip about you. They're going to say you're a creep or you're this and that, and it may not be true. Sometimes it is. Sometimes guys are creeps, right? We're not talking about that. We're talking about when a man is just legitimately expressing his desire. Gives a girl a compliment. Shoots his shot. Asks her on a date. Any point when you're making a move, don't feel guilty. Don't feel bad. The only time when you should feel bad is when you have expressed it and she says no, or maybe just like puts a boundary, not necessarily like she's like, "Fuck off." It's just like, "Hey, we're not going past this point." Cool, totally fine. I respect that, right? But you can stop at whatever boundary someone has without going, "Oh, I'm sorry." Because when someone sees that overreaction, they're going to see you as weak. Because it is weak. Because just because you have reached a boundary with someone doesn't mean you've done something wrong. Unless you like did something ridiculous, right? But again, we're not talking about that, right? I'm being very clear with my language to, dissuade any retard from making a, misunderstanding what I'm teaching here, okay? We are talking about the natural game that sometimes isn't super clear. Like, it's hard to know, okay, be like, "All right, can I go for the kiss now?" Sometimes you just have to take a leap of faith. And you go for it, and like she turns her head. Are you going to go, "Oh, I'm so sorry. I didn't mean to go." Dude, what the fuck? You didn't do anything wrong. Oh, okay, cool. Are you not interested? No, I'm just not, ready yet. Oh, okay, cool. Easy. Go back to conversation, right? Or you go for it and she's like, "Yeah, sorry, I didn't really see you that way." Okay, cool. No worries. "Hey, you know what? I'm going to get going. It was nice meeting you." Da, 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 da. "Oh, we can be friends." "Nah, I'm cool." right? I wanted something on that level. You're not interested in that. That's fine. But I'm not going to sacrifice my happiness to make you happy, right? You don't want me on that level. Totally cool. You're allowed to have that. But I'm not going to sit around and just be a friend, right? Because then that's going to mean I'm sitting here wasting my time, and it's insincere. It's almost like lying. Like, I want you on a deeper level than that. I want you romantically and sexually, but you don't want that. But then I have to sit around and just like keep my dick in my pants. It's like, no, I'm going to go spend time with a girl who wants my dick out of my pants, right? That's the attitude you need to have, because that's someone who accepts their sexuality, right? They're restrained with it and they're disciplined with it, right? But they know how to express it in a healthy way. And you're always expressing your sexuality. When you walk up to a girl, you're expressing your sexuality. When you shoot your shot, when you ask her out, when you get her on a date, when you make that first move to, like, you know, hold her hand, or you put your hand on her thigh, or you go for the kiss, right? Or you're making out with her and you grab her ass, or, you know, things start to get, you know, the relationship starts to progress. You guys have sex. Like, there's always that move into uncertainty, right? And you can be open and communicative while you're doing it, right? But there's always going to be that moment where you take that leap, right? And never be ashamed of doing that. Be very aware of people's boundaries and respect people's boundaries when they put them up, but don't be ashamed of going for it. And when you get rejected, which you inevitably will be, don't be ashamed about getting rejected. Just accept it and move on, right? It's people react in extreme ways when they allow that shame to consume them. They either turn into like loser incels, right? Or they turn into weirdos who do aggressive shit, right? And they cross boundaries. But when you have a healthy acceptance of your own sexuality, you're going to just have this very binary view. Like, I express it, it's accepted, cool, right? I'm glad to share in this experience with you. You're expressing your female sexuality, I'm expressing my male sexuality. We do the thing, right? On the flip side, if you express it and it's rejected, cool, whatever, right? It's very binary, yes or no, boom, right? There was obviously different shades because, you know, there's different levels of intimacy. But for the most part, it's just binary, yes or no, right? It pervades so much of the way things happen. Like, girls can walk around wearing nothing but lingerie. It's okay. Oh, but, you know, if you go up and you shoot your shot, creepazoid. Like that fucking Gillette commercial from years ago, right? That's why they ended up, like, boycotting Gillette. Because in this ad, this guy went to go talk to this girl. That's it. Like, he literally went to go talk to her. And the guy was like, whoa, bro, don't do that. And it's like, what? Right? But then women can do X and Y. I mean, it happens on so many levels. You know, girls can post basically nudes on Instagram. But if a guy does the same, he'll get banned. Right? Girls can say what they want, but guys can't. There's a very simple reason for this, right? And you're never going to stop it. It's always going to be this way. So just accept it and then just learn how to get around it when you can. But play by the rules when, you know, you have to, right? Girls can get away with anything on social media. Guys can't. It's honestly just spiteful women who want to shame male sexuality because they are miserable. They're the minority, though. They're a very loud minority, but they're actually a minority. There is some legitimate times where, like, a guy is going too far with his expression of sexuality. So there's those situations where it's genuine. But most of the time, I would say it's men just doing competition, or men who are like simps being convinced that because they need to it's sort of like, okay, if I'm going to be a loser who has to put his dick in a cage, right, and be a loser cuck, well, I'm going to make sure all other guys are, because that's what and some of them might even, like, be sincere. They're like, oh my God, like, I'm not supposed to be sexual. It's disrespectful. I'm treating women like objects. When that's not true. That's not what it means to objectify women. You can want someone sexually. It's only objectification when that's the sole thing that you see. okay, when you don't see the person behind it. But there's nothing wrong with also seeing sexuality. But there might be some guys who genuinely like just take it at face value. Like, oh, okay, I'm not supposed to express myself sexually. And then they're like, all other men need to as well in order for us to be good people. Like, some might genuinely have a sincere like desire behind it. But most of the time it's just like, I'm a loser, so everyone else needs to be a loser. And then there's also the men at the top who want to just like keep everyone else in line. And so they're going to use social means like shame to just kick more competition out, when at the same time they're behind the scenes like being the worst philanderer possible, right? Like the executives of big, game companies or movie companies who like promote a lot of this bullshit that shames men, but then they're like the worst like provocators of, or they are doing the thing that they are shaming to the extreme. Like, they're actually pieces of shit, right? They just want to like play the, oh, I'm listening and I'm respectful, but then they're going to do whatever they want. They're going to go coke and whore it up, right? So there's a lot of parties that are interested in shaming sexuality. But at the end of the day, you're not really going to do much about it. You're not going to make some grand movement. The person who's going to do that would be me, and I'm going to have like an almost negligible effect, right? I'm going to reach such a small percentage of men out there. And the ones who I do, probably most are not going to listen, right? But the few who I can help, that's what I'm aiming to do. I'm aiming to maybe help you, because if you can listen to this and digest it and learn how to stop being ashamed of your sexuality in all aspects, you're just going to have so much more success. And when those people do try to shame you, either consciously, like they're trying to fuck with you, or unconsciously, what I think this girl's doing, I don't think she's trying to be weird, but she is being weird, and you're going to have to stand up for yourself. So in whatever aspect your sexuality is expressing itself, it could be your humor. It could be you trying to go talk to a girl. It could be, a discussion and you give your opinion, right, unashamedly. But then girls can give their opinion openly, but then maybe some guy like questions you, or is like, I don't know, man, da-da-da. Say it with your chest. Straighten your back and say it with your chest. Yeah, I like this. Yeah, I like this. Yeah, I like being dominant. Da-da-da. I think you can go talk to girls. I think you can do this. I think men should be dominant. But like, I don't think you should be as open about it as me, right? Because I just create so much conflict because of the reasons I've explained. There's so many interested parties in keeping your sexuality restrained. Just like there's a lot of parties who are interested in keeping women's sexuality shamed, right? They have their own battle to fight as well, right? You got dudes in deserts, fucking scarfing up bitches and making them, controlling their sexuality at a really extreme level, right? You have dudes on comments and OnlyFans detected, I'm not saying that girl's a fucking saint, right? But I don't think you're really doing anything productive by going around shaming women's sexuality either, right? So both sexes are dealing with shame, right? But this is a men's dating channel, so I'm focused on that. So think about how you are shamed in your sexual life, or in your life sexually, and then think about how far that percolates. Like, how far does that shame run, right? And I would say, as someone who does this professionally and observes the world around him very closely, I would say that it is so deeply entrenched, this shame in your sexuality, that it affects the way you walk. It affects the way you carry yourself. And you should carry yourself like a man who, if he's interested in a woman, he should feel more than justified in walking up and giving that 5 seconds to try. I think you're more than justified. Unless there's an obvious reason why not. You see a ring on her finger, she's with her family, right? Obvious fucking things. But outside of that, if you're attracted to a woman, you should walk around with the knowledge that there's nothing wrong with your sexuality. so long as it's not being expressed in an unjust or excessive manner. Okay. And if all you have to do is look at how a lot of women are expressing themselves and they're not being shamed, although they are, right? I just gave some examples, right? But they're not being shamed the way you are. Okay. So, yeah, just do some self-reflection and think about how deeply your sexuality is being, how you're allowing yourself. Because at the end of the day, you're letting yourself be shamed. Okay. Oh, yeah, I can't, society's fucked up and blah, blah. None of it's really actually stopping you. Outside of some really extreme examples, like I know there's a law in some fucking part of like Scotland or Ireland that literally says you can't go talk to random girls. But I guarantee there's still dudes who do it, and women aren't saying, "Oh my God, he talked to me, I'm a stranger," right? They're like, if he's attractive, they're sucking his dick, right? Laws for thee, but not for me, right? There's always exceptions. But yeah, I mean, there's tons of girls out there, right? Who want you to express yourself, who want you to go up and talk to her, who want you to ask her out, who want you to go for the kiss, right? There's tons of girls who also don't want you to do that. But you're going to have to try until you reach the point where they tell you, hey, I'm not interested. Like here, she's totally justified in telling him. But kind of doesn't make sense given the fact that you've just sent him a bunch of nudes, okay? And my client needs to stand up for himself and stop fucking simping and quit this, just the way he talks. Like, it's not just in the way you walk that you're fucking ashamed of your own sexuality. It's the way you talk. You talk like a bitch. You talk like a weak, limp dick little fucking cuck. And you need to stop it. Okay? It's so pervasive. And I would say that a lot of what you lack in confidence, you can't get confidence until you get results. Right? But a good replacement until you learn how to get results is sincerity. And a lot of what is coming off as lack of confidence and is unattractive in the way that you express yourself to women and other men, I mean, it's hard to respect a man who doesn't accept his own sexuality, is the fact that you're not sincere. Like, I'm not really sociable. I'm kind of awkward, this and that. But you know what? I have a sincere desire to express my sexuality. I want a girlfriend. I want a wife. I want a family. Right? And that all involves sexuality, right? You got to bust a fucking load in a chick's pussy in order to make a kid. So, we can get into a whole discussion about how sex just pervades all levels of society and is the strongest drive outside of survival. I would say in a lot of cases it's stronger than survival. Okay. But men are, lost my train of thought. Anyways, stop being a little bitch. Okay. You are allowing, in the way that men talk, right? The way that you talk is like a bitch. Like, just read these texts and ask yourself, do I talk like this? I mean, it doesn't even have to be this very niche, rare conversational thread where you're talking like this. It can be in general. Like, hey, maybe you would like to grab a coffee sometime. Hey, I'd like to grab a coffee with you sometime. Not only is that the like righteous way to express yourself, it's also the most attractive. Because deep down, what you're really saying in that type of expression is, I want to stuff your fucking pussy with my dick. And that's how you should talk to women. Until she's not interested in that. And then you pull that back, right? You play this dance of like showing more interest, showing less interest. And then when it's kind of like reached the ending point, okay, cool. I move on to the next one. But you should never lose the sexual energy. It is what makes you attractive. It's a lot of what makes you a respectful man, or a man worthy of respect. Okay? So, get your shit together. Stop fucking talking like this. Stand up for your own sexuality. And if she's not cool with it, great. You are more than entitled to have your boundaries. But I'm going to move on to a girl who doesn't want to have boundaries with me. She wants to let me fuck every hole, okay? And especially when they play dumb shit like this and send you nudes and then you don't have to like get into some fucking aggressive argument. Okay, just stand up for yourself. Hey, just a few sentences, right? Don't take this to the extreme. Use common sense. All right, guys. Cool. Love you guys. Stop being ashamed of yourself. Your sexuality is beautiful, and it's kind of a gay thing to say, but that's my job here. All right. Love you guys. Best wishes. Stop recording. Ciao.